Contrary to popular belief, BMW did not always get it right. The car brand that had a stranglehold on toothbrush having ass teenagers and angry upper management people is insane though, and the result of BMW testing new things has resulted in the worst looking SUV I've ever seen. Oh, and this. But they're a brand that does stretch what it means to make good new cars. The G80 is a perfect example of a car that was initially kind of hated, and now it's loved because it grew on us. There's a car that took longer than a year or two for people to like. A car that had most M owners in a tizzy because it wasn't a real M3. A car that was bigger, wider, fatter, and yet still better than its predecessor, the E46. I'm just saying it. I'm Alex Martini with 2 underscores on Instagram, and today we're talking about how to modify a BMW E90. Martini Works. If you need parts, mod your car, Martini Works. If you have an E90 already built, you can add it to our build thread so you can help people mod their car with us because we, quite frankly, give a shit. It's why we started this thing. We also have BC Racing on the site now with free rush shipping, which is sick. So if you need coilovers, check out the site, bud. It'd mean a lot. Or don't. But it'd be really cool if you did. The 5th Gen 3 Series has 4 model codes. E90, which is the sedan, E91, which is the cooler one, but you'll never buy because it's a wagon. The E92 has 2 doors, lots of fun, and the E93 is probably the one that your parents owned. Introduced in 2004 until 2013, the E90X, where we're just gonna call it the E90 for the sake of sanity, had the first 3 Series model with a turbocharged engine, and everyone liked that. The BMW E90, the official car for gaslighting your significant other. There was a very special M3 in this generation, which is the only gen to have an S65 naturally aspirated V8, and we'll get into that, but we need to talk about why it was even birthed into this world. What did you get if you saved up your pennies for an E90 versus an E46? Well, it's kind of easy. You get cooler taillights, fantastic weight distribution. The diesels ran like tanks and won like 1 billion awards. Honestly, if you're only here to know if it's a good daily driver, the answer is yes. Yes, it is. If you got a 325, you got 215 horsepower. If you bought a 328, you got 231. If you got a 330i, 255 to 268. Or if you got an N54 or N55, you got 306. And the M3 was an X65 V8 with 414 horsepower on tap and an 8,300 RPM headline. That's so hot. Let me just praise the M3 here for a second because nobody's really gonna buy this one, but the car was more American than what Americans were thinking. The BMW E92 M3 had an engine from an S85, which was a V10, but with 2 less cylinders, making it a 4-liter, 8,300 redline, okay, double European VTEC, and individual throttle bodies on a 300 foot-pound torque number. And it's awesome. The car is insane. Now, sure, the bottom end is finicky and needs to be maintained, but that's most BMWs. But this engine is wildly cool and sounds ridiculous with an aftermarket exhaust. Listen to this. Okay, back to your scheduled programming on the E90 non-M talk. The E90 was a step forward for BMW. The company made the decision to make iDrive standard, which was really nice, had tune options from factory for car enthusiasts, and in my humble Wisconsin opinion, was probably when BMW had the most control over its vehicle lineup in terms of design language and performance. It was good. But because the M3 had a naturally aspirated V8, people were pissed, okay? I don't know why, it just was. It's just like putting a front-engine performance Porsche on the grid. It was like making a Ferrari that won't start on fire. It's like making a Subaru that won't blow up at 100,000 miles, and until a few years passed and emotions ran away, you actually used to be able to snag an M3 E90 for like 15 to 18 grand. Nowadays, that's not a thing anymore. So how do you modify an E90 BMW? Well, these fucking things are more used than the one microfiber that you just won't let die, and the BMW E90 platform will never die. The E90 has a few places that it'll need your help with. Oil consumption, the N54 engine as a whole, electrical gremlins, turbocharged engines are fun, but they have way more issues, okay? So let's just get that out of the way. The BMW E90, the official Honda Civic for people who buy designer clothes. If your car has the N52 3-liter, you've got a good one. The only thing to ask about before buying and modifying one is if there were any repairs to the oil flow and the hydraulic valve lifter issued. Those do have a tendency to fail because of the design. If you have a 3-liter N54 twin turbocharged engine, let's go. We both know you like pain because this engine will be a little bit of that for you pretty much all the time. Don't deny it, it will be. But the N54 walks that the S58 could fly, and I'm okay with that. The N54 is a proper engine that can handle a ton of mods. The tune zone ain't an issue here as long as you do everything else first to fix it from factory, which includes the high pressure fuel pump failing. Turbochargers are known to just fail. You have a carbon buildup, which is huge. Getting this thing cleaned is a must, not really a want, you know? Valve covers apparently leak a lot, okay? A new gasket on these cars is a super fun project. Fuel injectors can leak, water pump fails, Vanos solenoids can cause issues, and that's just the beginning, okay? This is the thing. These issues get multiplied when you put your dirty little dick beaters in there and add an aftermarket intake or a blow-off valve, which you'll want to do because your budget for a car was 10 grand and you spent 8 grand of it on an N54 335. Okay, so be the other guy. Make your 335i the exception by making it reliable. There's a huge write-up on BMWtuning.co which outlines all of this. They crushed it. Read that, listen to me when you come back with a prepped up N54 that won't blow up under 14 pounds of boost, because then you can modify one of these. And walnut blast your shit every 30,000 miles. For power mods, it's really simple. A tune from a JB4 or one of your standard tuners will have something for you. You can open up the exhaust with downpipes and things like that, and you'll be able to just pretty much fly. What I will say here is that don't be afraid of resonators. Now, burbles are cool and all that noise is really fun, but the N54 doesn't exactly sound the best, and it does need a little bit of rumble, which comes from resonators versus just straight piping the bitch, okay? So pair that up with an intercooler and an intake, and you'll be happy at like 400 to 440 horsepower without much fuss. After doing this, go upgrade your oil cooler, your trans cooler if you have an automatic. And if you're still nervous about oil stuff, I've seen people throw oil catch cans on it, but the results are eh. I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't do much more than that. You can. But potential upside versus the car being on jack stands grows tremendously here. You have to remember the N55 actually reverted some of the design elements of the N54 because of the issues. And the engine can be good, but it's about as finicky as a VR4 from a 3000 GT. Our sauce, the fitment and suspension part of this, is a ton of fun. I'd always recommend throwing an Eibach anti-roll kit on this thing, H&R Street Performance coilovers for about $1,700, Continental DWS06 tires, and some 18 or 19-inch wheels. For specific fitments, we recommend an 18 by 8.5 square 35 setup with two 35-35 tires, or you can do a staggered setup if you're okay with rolling your fenders and making things a little bit tighter with an 18 or 19-inch diameter, 9.5 front, 10.5 rear, plus 22 offset for both of those, and then running like a 235 front and a 245 rear. And just to help you out a little bit more, sidewall 35 or die, okay? It's just the best way to go. You get to 40, you're pretty fat there. If you go above 40, you're gonna be like Dakota and regret your tire size choice. Wheels choices, BBS CIRs will never like not look good on these cars, but they're expensive as Enki GT CO2s are insanely good looking, but they may be a little bit too sporty for you. The Enki Ryzen will give you a really OE plus look. The Volk TE37 SLs look baller and can really tie the whole growing Japanese styling Eurocar look thing together with some aero and coilovers. And if you're on a budget, the Kansei KNP in gunmetal looks tight. It's the cheapest one out of the options we just shared and is generally in stock out of all of those most of the time. You can make the 335s look awesome, and it can be a properly fun car as long as you take care of it, which makes you think you should buy one already done. Like with mods. Pump your brakes. The odds of these things getting done right are like 1 out of 10. So be safe before buying. Honestly, go for a super stock one with low miles and save your money. So how do you modify a BMW E90?
What about the rest of them?
They don't exist, Gels. Get out. It's perfect. All you gotta do is buy TEs, KW coils, exhaust, tune it all from us, and don't ever ask me what to do with an M3 again, because that one is almost perfect from factory. How do you modify an E90 335i? Easy, baby. Snag $15,000 and go get one with under 80,000 miles. Then apply for a credit card because you'll be spending like 3 grand on repairs on things you missed during buying. It happens. You can literally check everything, but these cars are always gonna have a couple 2-tree quirks that are gonna cost you money. After that, go into suspension, wheels, and tires first. The cars are fun stock, and getting it connected to the ground is more fun than adding more power on 14-year-old shitty tires. Once that's done, see what broke. Something broke. You don't know it yet, but something broke between the time you bought it and now. After that, jump into the tune and downpipes bro moment. I'd recommend ARM Motorsports or VRSE, and then go into your cooling and oil management, all that good stuff. Snag an aftermarket exhaust, and you have about $25,000. You're at a 450 horsepower BMW with all the right amount of tech inside, a spacious interior, a trunk that doesn't suck, a fantastic driving experience, and an insane insurance bill that won't take out your savings. Because if you bought a 4-door, that's the smart way to go. In all honesty, the E90 chassis is pretty much perfect. It's new enough to actually enjoy some creature comforts that came in 2010, but old enough to avoid most taxes and depreciation. I personally think the M3 here is a collector car, and not really a driver's car versus the G80 or the F80. But that's just me. What makes these cars is that it's an intermediate car to tune and modify. They'll reward good mods and maintenance with a fantastic driving experience. They'll punish shitty mods and lack of maintenance with being broken literally 24/7 and throwing itself into limp mode. So do try to keep that in mind. As a difficulty score, I give it a 7 out of 10. But seriously, and most importantly, if you're looking to buy parts for your E90 3 Series, mod your car at Martini Works. If you have questions on the platform, drop them below. And of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Alex Martini with 2 underscores on Instagram, and we'll see you later. Peace.